Hello and thank you for joining us on another edition of Newsweek, where we highlight the biggest stories that made headlines in the last 7 days. I am Esther Makwariola. Now, concerned by the persistent security challenges in parts of the country, President Muhammadu Buhari summoned a National Security Council meeting this week. And with the crucial meeting ending with no resolution and adjourned till Tuesday, it's no longer at ease for a nation at war with itself on all sides. Since Libya slid into lawlessness in the wake of the 2011 uprising that toppled Muammar Gaddafi, the war against terror has shown that no country can be an island of prosperity in an ocean of insecurity. But could there be a possible link between the situation in Libya and the spate of insurgent attacks in Nigeria? We will find out later on the show. Now, residents of Geidam community who were displaced by Boko Haram are appealing to the government to restore peace in their community. And they lament that leaving their ancestral homes was made life unbearable and uncomfortable for them. And our correspondent, Michael Oshoma, reports.
The attack on Geidam community has rendered more than 6,000 persons homeless. Presently, many of the displaced victims are seeking refuge in 7 transit camps, while others stay with relatives and friends across the 70 local governments. The Yobe State Humanitarian Agency, SEMA, has swung into action in a bid to cushion their plight.
We provide food to pregnant mothers and lactating mothers and the children, and we ensure that issues of water and hygiene has been taken care of.
Despite the rapid intervention by SEMA, the recently displaced persons still feel there is no place like home.
No drink, no water, Milo. This month is Ramadan. After fasting, no food, no water.
We are in critical condition. The government she come and help us.
This host community, Abari, houses over 150 displaced families. Behind me are fleeing residents from Geidam community seeking refuge in Damaturu, the state capital. They lament that life has been unbearable for them after the attack. They want the government to do all within its reach to restore peace and tranquility in their community so that they can return to their ancestral homes.
We are not comfortable here. We want government to have and securities to our location, which is Geidam.
We left all our properties in Geidam. We don't have anything now.
Locals in nearby villages report that Geidam has now become a ghost town. Michael Oshoma, TVC News.
Well, let's quickly bring in our guests to analyze this issue further. I have joining me in the studio Uzonna Onoye, Executive TVC News Editor, and Onyekachi Adekoya, Security Consultant. Good to have you gentlemen on the program this evening. So let's begin with you now, Mr. Adekoya. You would say insecurity in Nigeria, it's becoming like a norm, where we get to hear reports where people are being displaced by Boko Haram and insurgents and other bandits. But with the fears that is happening, with the rising fears of insecurity in the land, what would you say, or what's your assessment of what has been done to address this deteriorating situation?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I think that some time ago I was on set, and the clamor then was for the change of the service chiefs. The service chiefs have been changed now. We are still back to square one, and I did argue then that changing the service chief without changing the operational context. Operational context would be the level of training, munitions, equipping, the morale, and what is the fighting strategy. The new service chief have come in, they are trying. There's a new IG now who has reeled out his new operational policy. who is also seemingly trying to do his best. But we seem to see a lack of coordination, seemingly, which is why I believe the president called for the security meeting to try and hash out a strategy. My assessment is that the fabric of society has been threatened, you know, and it's quite systematic, and it's been ongoing for several years now. I'll give an example. There was a time, if you come to the local communities, before you reside or take residence there, you go to see the local chief. When you see the local chief, you get registered. They know you, they give you a space, and then you have the youths who form like an enforcing team of whatever decisions the elders will make. Today, the local chiefs have been reduced by the local government to nothingness. They are kept under a Department of Agric and Rural Development. The state governors themselves have reduced the local government chairmen to nothingness. Sole administrators, caretaker committees. So the fabric of society is gone. And whatever it is we're seeing today is only symptomatic of a deep-seated problem that doesn't look like it's going away anytime soon. So we can talk about military strategy, but maybe much later in the show, I would say that some of the problems we're having are quite political. And the solutions to this is also political, not a military approach.
But let me take you on that one. If you say that the solution to the problem is political, yes, are you saying we need to restructure our whole administrative process in terms of governance?
I hope you are not going to the issue of devolution of powers. If that's the case, that's fine. We must have that. But I'm talking about the political structure of governance. Man is gregarious by nature. You can't have social justice if you don't have social order. Social order is predicated upon a social norm. What have the people agreed is the social norm within the society. What we have done since colonization is to tear the fabric of our societies in trying to institute a governance of system that is foreign to us. The fallout now is that even the local chiefs, the emirs, the obas have been kidnapped. Once upon a time, it was a taboo to touch a chief or an emir or an oba. So we don't have, at the grassroots level, the fabric of society is dissipating. That is the big problem. So you don't have local chiefs who can organize vigilante groups. They can't organize the youths. To organize the youth will cost money. You have to fuel their vehicles. You need to pay them an allowance. You need to feed them. You need to equip them. The local chiefs cannot run to the local government chairman because allocation has not come. If allocation has come, the state determines the priorities, amongst other things that they do. So at the grassroots level, the system is failing, which is why I said the problem we're having is political. Until we knit back again a tightly knit society from the local communities, or in my mother's place, what you call the autonomous communities, and allow the chiefs some level of relevance back. Imagine the then emir of Kano was dethroned, just like that. You see, that speaks to the thinking of the politician. Now, I'm not saying maybe I'm holding brief for the governor or for the, but it speaks to what I'm talking about. So at the local level, nothing is happening. We can all look to Abuja. But is Abuja going to come to Bogon, for example? Would Abuja go to Umapiti, somewhere in Ishalangwa North? Does Abuja even know where Fika is, for example? Or in fact, that's Geidam we're talking about here. People have gone now to Yobe. I spent my December 31st in Maiduguri, and I can tell you, there's a big problem. There's a big problem. So we can talk about what the president should do and not do, but nobody is talking about the local man at the local community. What are the structures we have? Because every approach to crime that is sensible must be local. So we must go back. That's fine. The president can sit down, have meetings with the governors, have meetings with the service chief, but they must talk about the local approach. You know, and then maybe you begin to talk about devolving powers. Until that is done, okay, we would not see so much progress. Now, the other part of politics is that it's quite interesting. It's almost like on the eve of every major election, insecurity will spike to very unprecedented level. Why? Because you have certain interest groups. You cannot rule them out. Nigeria is a very big country. There is palace politics going on even in Aso Rock. There are different interests at play. So these forces have started towards 2023. And these disagreements we're beginning to see at the local government level, some of them are being fueled by politics. Case in point, the case in Imo. Case in point, the case in Akwa Ibom, in Ebonyi. the solution to the Imo crisis and the Southeast crisis is political, not military. Until we go political, we won't solve the problem.
Quite an interesting conversation, if I would say, from Onyekachi. But Uzona, do you share the same sentiments, or you have a different view altogether?
To the extent that what we have here is, what we have in our hands is just a symptom of a failure of societal value. I agree with him, absolutely. And as we agree on that, it's also important to put a time on it, saying that it's not a failure of this administration. It's something that came over time from series of military intervention, where the structure of democratic process were tinkered and modified to suit the interest of the military government at each point. So it led to the erosion of what we had as the fabric of our society. Having said that, there is still a huge responsibility in the hands of the government of the day, because I remember that in 2015, prior to that election, one of the major points being presented before the Nigerian people is that the then president failed in dealing with the security challenges. And so we need a change. We need to bring in someone with the necessary experience and expertise in managing security situations. And that led to the emergence of the current administration since 2015. And if you ask me, for 5 years, 6 years now, it seems it's getting worse. It's getting worse because it has become widespread. It has become, how do I put it now? It has spread across the country. Areas that were kind of isolated and insulated from the crisis are now all affected. And the insurgents and the bandits now, before they were all categorized as terrorists, but now we can separate them: terrorists, bandits, insurgents, and all of that. But all of them belong to the same family. They become emboldened that from day to day, just a few days ago, the governor of Niger State cried out, saying that some communities, sizable number of communities in the state, have been taken over by insurgents. And if you check the distance between Niger State and the Federal Capital Territory, it may not be too far, just about 2 hours, which tells me, or tells anyone that may want to think, that these guys are not too far away from the seat of power. And that means that there is need for urgent, while the political solution may have to consolidate the remedy or the solutions, there is need for strong political will, yes, to come firm and fast on this issue and deal with it. A lot of people are concerned that it appears that government had been selective and unserious in dealing with the issues headlong. Because I remember some weeks ago, the president said anyone found with some kind of gun in the forest should be shot at sight. We are still waiting to take account of how many people that have been shot. We see situations that continue to raise questions and concerns, on the seriousness. Yes, the change of service chiefs, brought a little bit of hope to some people, but a few weeks after, we're beginning to wonder what value that brought. You see, so summary of my position is there is need for a political solution that will consolidate whatever that has been done and cause, remove the distrust among the peoples of Nigeria and calm down nerves. However, because that will take a longer time, there is need for immediate action by government, immediate action to nail or whatever, nip the problem we have in the bud. Remember, they have said over time that there are people sponsoring these people. If you know there are people sponsoring them, why make it an anthem to be sung all over? Why not go and pick out these people, or just take action that will bring an end to what we're having?
And we have more on these conversations after the break. Stay with us on Newsweek. When we come back, we will focus on other matters pertaining to security in Nigeria. Stay with us.
This Sunday, Sharon Ijason goes on a fact-finding mission to seek solutions to the rising rate of kidnapping in the country.
They are telling us that if government did not bring money, they will kill us and they will go and sell the remaining ones.
From Niger, Kaduna, Zamfara states, the stories are almost the same.
We trek from 2 o'clock in the night up to 3 o'clock or 3:30 in the afternoon.
It is an organized crime where children pay the utmost price. That's on Sunday Specials, where great stories live.
President Muhammadu Buhari says illegal arms and ammunition will continue to flow in the Sahel region of the African continent as far as Libya remains unstable. Well, the president recently spoke at the State House, Abuja, while receiving Mohammed Ibn Chambers, the outgoing special representative of the United Nations Secretary General and the head of the United Nations Office of West Africa and the Sahel.
Been taken over by bandits and Boko Haram elements. Their wives have been seized from them. Their wives have been forcefully attached to Boko Haram members elements.
The clashes between farmers and herdsmen have been ongoing for ages. So have cases of kidnapping for ransom. Even the agitations by secessionist groups for a new homeland is nothing new. But why have they suddenly taken on such grave undertones? Intelligence sources have long suggested that the escalation in insecurity in the country was being fueled by external forces.
Or is to rededicate myself to serving you.
Indeed, President Muhammadu Buhari agrees with this submission and has himself said the political instability in the northern state of Libya poses a recurring security threat to the Sahel and sub-Saharan regions of Africa. President Buhari had in December 2019, at a bilateral meeting with the president of Côte d'Ivoire, Al-Hassan Ouattara, noted that many of the fighters trained for the 43 years the late Muammar Gaddafi ruled the North African country were now armed with deadly weapons, roaming the Sahel and sub-Sahara sub-region with no other skills for survival but to shoot and kill and perpetrate violent crimes. A report by experts of the United Nations Security Council notes that large quantities of arms within Libya were left in unsecured stockpiles, which would later be proliferated to terrorists and insurgents around the world. Now, the Libyan civil war started in February 2011 and ended in October of the same year. It featured widespread loss of state control over arms depots that were appropriated by opposition forces. According to a UN Security Council panel of experts, the western borders of Libya from Tunisia in the north to Niger in the south were the focus points for illicit arms trafficking from Libya quite early on in the uprising. If indeed this has been clear to Nigeria's intelligence agencies, why is it so difficult to tame the wave of insecurity that has swept across the country? That would be easier said than done, considering the fact that a worsening economic situation has also increased the frustration among those who find themselves among the unemployed.
Well, we still have in the studio to analyze the issues further. Onyekachi Adekoya, security consultant and TVC News executive editor, Uzona Onoye. So let's come back to you now, Adekoya. While the report was rolling, you're talking about, issues that needs to be dealt with. If you're talking about handling security issues at hand. So could you just, let us in on that so we know where we can take off from there?
No, I was just trying to add to what my Oga said, that yes, we agree it's politics. And I asked, who is the head of the political structure in Nigeria today? Nature abhors a vacuum. And we don't have co-sovereigns, as the structure should suggest in a federal system. We almost have, by law, one sovereign, the presidency. And within the political context, which I talked about, it is the president that will provide the political leadership, direction, and the steel of character to drive forward an agenda? Are we seeing that concerted speak within the political contraption that we have? No. What we are seeing, rather, are siloed approach or approaches to the issues of insecurity. And I always make the point to say, there are certain non-institutional factors that constrain policy direction. So you must understand your strategic arena. As Nigeria is constituted today, there is nobody that becomes president that will not have to play some level of politics. Because politics is about give and take. So there's a politics of give and take which should be happening. And I'm not saying corruption. I'm saying that there must be concessions here and there. If the president and the state governors come together and say, listen, let's do state police to take policing closer to the people and at least provide some level of amelioration to the issues at hand, that would make some sense. We say every time we have 300,000 policemen, but policemen are dying every day. We are not replacing them. There's no recruitment. We recruited over 10,000 people. They are not even being paid. I'm not sure where that matter is with the Police Service Commission and the IGP. I think the matter is still in court. So there are plenty issues that beggars political direction. The House of Assembly is speaking at its own angle. The Senate is at its own angle. The National Security Advisor is saying his own thing. The Minister of Defense is saying his own thing. The Minister of Police Affairs is saying his own thing. Where is the strategy? Yes, the unifying strategy that would then crystallize this thing and let it percolate down to the local government, local community level. There has to be something. And I dare say that it is politics first, the political solution before the military solution. Because right now, we don't even have the resources to be had. We don't have the resources. We don't have the wherewithal. We don't have the reach. The fuel subsidy alone is bleeding us. NNPC didn't contribute anything to the national tier. So resource-wise, we are bleeding. So political solution has to be put forward first. Then you create some kind of force multiplier. Within the force you have multiplied across the 774 local governments, you can then have your forces supported by the political structure you have created. It's not military strategy first. You know, we can stay on this matter. The then Chief of Army Staff said it will take us 10 years, 20 years. We have not solved the issue. Let me round up with this. The issue in the Northeast is not a Fulani problem. But every time we talk, they say it's Fulani. No. Kanuri people are the ones doing what they are doing. It is the Kanuri that are doing what they are doing in the Northeast. Banditry in the Northwest is done by certain people of Fulani extraction. So it's not everything Fulani jihadists. No. At the local level, check contest, there's a reason why these certain youths of the Kanuri extractions are doing what they are doing. And to them, it's a game. In some places, they mount a checkpoint. If you pass through the checkpoint, if they like your cap, they take your cap and they tell you to go. So for them, they are playing a game. So that's why I'm saying that there has to be clearly understood within the Adamawa, the Bay, what you call the Bay region, Borno, Adamawa, Yobe region, understand the local politics and the considerations at play. The agitations in the Southeast, what are they really agitating for? Why are these people getting sympathizers from amongst the people? Can you address the issues, give some concessions, allow the political structure heal itself, settle Uzodinma and Rojas Okorocha? They are within the same party. Settle every worrying section. The president can go to the Southeast if he cares. Sit down there, settle the political issues, let the governor of Southeast try and solve their problem. Then the same thing can apply in the North Central. The North Central, as you said, it's not true that Abuja is not currently experiencing. In those areas like Buhari, for example, people are being kidnapped in Abuja. People are currently being kidnapped in Abuja. And the Abuja FCT command is having to deal with a lot of issues. We are over 200 million people. The policing is not enough. We have to think outside the box.
Absolutely, thinking outside the box is the option for us right now. But Uzona, from the positions that Onyekachi has put forward, which seems to be like the president needs to come down from his high horse, if I would put it that way, to harmonize all this situation on ground, what would be the best solution, taking a cue from what he's listed so far?
The president has been in office for 6 years, very close to 6 years, and he has been consistent. He has been consistent in his approach to issues, not being decisive, and sometimes appearing unaware of what the real situations are. So expecting a change in 2 years that he will be in office to the end of the tenure might be asking for too much. So that's why I'm not really too optimistic in seeing something that is a bit detailed, like Onyekachi is presenting, detailed and with checks and timelines, and that would entail thorough implementation to see it to the end.
Right.
Because what he's talking about, once you start it and you bridge it at any point, you need to start all over. You come back to point zero. So I am not that optimistic in saying this, because we've been in this administration for 6 years and it has been consistent. So I am really, really worried that at the end of the day, we may still have to look towards a quick remedy that would involve stiffer actions, not rhetorics. Unfortunately, we are cash-strapped and our situation is getting gloomier by the day, because every step that you need to take requires some form of huge spending. And that is where the civil society may have to think and change their change their position on certain issues like the petrol subsidy. There has been a channel that has continued to siphon the national resources. If government is serious in addressing the issue of petrol subsidy, it has to come with a process. It has to come with creating some cushioning, parts here and there that will take away the pressure that, the increase in pump price of petrol will bring on the people. But unfortunately, we are not seeing all that. So if government is not doing it, why wouldn't the civil society lead the way in doing that, in proposing and demanding that these things are done? While we are looking for the political solution, we have forgotten that we run a democracy where there are 3 arms, and 2 of them are quite active politically, and that is the legislature. They have been, well, I'm struggling not to use certain words that would, but I don't want to say they've been docile, but somehow they appear not to understand the magnitude of the situation. Just 2 days ago, one of the senators from Kogi State wept on the floor of the House, and to a lot of people, it appeared medicine after death, because at the end of the day, the National Assembly had continued to consume a higher percentage when you share it across all the areas that need spending. They have continued to consume a higher percentage of the national wealth. They have not paid attention to that. So let's not just concentrate on the presidency. The National Assembly also have a role, because when they give in what they are supposed to give in, they can now sit back and demand from the presidency what the presidency should do.
And that's a fine place to leave it, gentlemen. Thank you very much for bringing your thoughts to bear. I appreciate all that you've said so far. Onyekachi Adekoya, thank you. And Uzona Ononya, it's a pleasure as always to have your thoughts shared on this program. And that's it on today's show of Newsweek. You can follow the conversation on our social media platforms at TVC News NG or on our website at tvcnews.tv. Until the next one, again, I am Esther Mokwariola. Bye for now.